You ever look at some researchers and wonder how they do it? They consistently publish amazing work, while other people with equally brilliant ideas just seem to struggle. Well, it turns out academic success isn't just about having a great idea. It's about knowing the unwritten rules of the game. So, let's unlock that secret playbook together.
I mean, what if there was an actual rule book? A guide to all those unspoken things that make the difference between a paper getting rejected and a paper getting celebrated. Well, there kind of is one, and that's exactly what we're going to break down today.
Our guide for this is Niam Brennan's fantastic paper, 100 Research Rules of the Game. She basically wrote down all the tacit knowledge that gets passed around behind the scenes, the stuff supervisors just assume you pick up along the way. Think of this as your insider's guide to academic publishing.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 key stages. First up, getting into the winning mindset. Then, we'll talk project design, how to master academic writing, and of course, how to play the publishing game. And you'll definitely want to stick around for the end because we're going to reveal the single most important rule of them all.
Okay, so before you even start brainstorming a topic, the very first move is all in your head. It really all starts with how you, the researcher, decide to approach the game. You've got to prepare the player before you can even get on the field. So what does that look like? Well, the main idea is that you are in the driver's seat. Rule number 3 says you have to take total ownership. Stop blaming reviewers or supervisors. It's on you. You also need a real strategy. And hey, be opportunistic. What are your unique strengths? Use them. And maybe most importantly, find a critical friend. That person who will tell you the hard truth before you hit submit. This brings us to one of my favorite mindset hacks, the research pipeline. According to Rule 8, the most productive people are basically jugglers. They've got a bunch of projects going at once, all at different stages. So while one paper is stuck in review, you're already writing the next one, and you're just starting to gather data for another. It keeps the momentum going, always. So, now that you're in the right headspace, let's talk about the opening moves. How do you design a research project that's actually built to succeed right from the get-go? Before you sink months or even years into a project, you've got to try this simple but brilliant idea from Rule 12, the dinner party test. Seriously, can you explain your idea to someone who isn't an expert and see their eyes light up? If they lean in and say, that sounds interesting, you've got it. You found a hook that will grab editors and reviewers too. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. There's a balance you have to strike. Rule 13 says, for a single paper, go narrow and deep. Make a real, solid contribution. But Rule 5 warns you not to become a one-trick pony by just digging that same little hole for your entire career. The goal is to be an expert, not to be stuck. And please remember this gem from Rule 15. It takes just as much time to write an unimportant paper as an important one. Think about that. Your goal isn't just to spot a gap in the literature. It's to ask yourself, is this gap even worth filling? You want to make a real substantive contribution every single time. All right, you could have the most amazing project in the universe, but if you can't communicate it well, it's just going to fizzle out. Brennan says the quality of your writing is more than half the battle. This is all about the art of persuasion. I absolutely love this piece of advice from Rule 33. The whole idea is just get that first draft down on paper, fast. Don't worry if it's messy, the quick and dirty version is perfect. The real work, the magic, happens when you revise. That's when you polish and prune and make that thing shine. So let's quickly run through some of the big writing rules. Always use the active voice. It's just so much more powerful. Chop up those long, winding sentences into shorter, clearer ones. And please, don't just list your findings, tell a compelling story with them. Your goal is to be understood, not to sound smart with a bunch of jargon. Clarity is king.
And Rule 42 really nails this point. The way your manuscript looks says a lot about its quality. Perfect spelling, flawless grammar, correct referencing, those aren't just tiny details. They're signals to the reviewer that you're a pro and you take your work seriously. So yeah, obsess over the small stuff. It matters.
Okay, so you've got the mindset, you've got the project, and your writing is polished. Now it's time for the final round, the publishing game. This is where you need a good strategy and, honestly, a whole lot of resilience. Let's start with a little story. It begins with a year, 1968. What was so special about 1968? Well, that's the year one of the most important papers in accounting by Ball and Brown was published. But here's the kicker. From Rule 84, it was first rejected by a top journal. This is such a great reminder that rejection happens to absolutely everyone, even the legends in your field. It's not something to fear, it's something to learn from. And when you do get those reviewer comments back, your reaction is everything. Rule 87 says you have to choose a positive mindset. Don't think of reviewers as critics attacking you. Think of them as experts giving you free advice to make your work stronger. Getting defensive is a dead end, but a thoughtful, point-by-point response, that's how you turn a revise and resubmit into an acceptance.
And here is a massive piece of insider strategy for you from Rule 91. If your paper gets rejected, do not just turn around and send it to another journal as is. Why? Because there's a very real chance it'll get sent to the exact same reviewers. Seriously, address every single one of their comments before you send it out again.
We've covered the mindset, the design, the writing, the publishing, but all of these rules, all these strategies, they're all built on top of one single fundamental principle. And this right here is the real prize of the whole game.
Neam Brennan was very deliberate about this. She made this rule number 1 and also rule number 100. It is the very first thing you need to know, and it's the absolute last thing you should ever forget. When you get right down to it, all these rules are just tools. Their real purpose is to clear the way so you can find joy in what you're doing, in the discovery, in the creation. The ultimate win isn't just seeing your name in print, it's finding real pleasure in playing the game well.
So we've opened up the rulebook. We've laid out the strategies. The only question left is the one that really matters. What research will you truly enjoy creating and sharing with the world?